Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Chaos Theory release. As you can see, we've got the Battle Roarin Becklespinax, and I'm definitely excited to check this one out. In fact, I may be more excited about this one than pretty much any other Chaos Theory figure that has come out so far. And honestly, I think there's a very good chance that this Becklespinax may end up being one of my favorite Mattel figures of all time. There's just something about this that I love so much, and I'm so happy to finally now have it here in my hands to take a look at with you guys. Unfortunately, this actually has not come out in my area quite yet. I've checked repeatedly, no dice, so I was lucky enough to have my good buddy Jurassic Tree Reviews help me and hook me up with this figure again a little bit earlier than trying to find it in my area. So a massive thank you goes out to him for helping me get a hold of this again a little bit earlier, and he honestly went above and beyond to get this to me, so huge thank you to him. But you can see the figure as far as the box art. You know, it's pretty much your standard when it comes to Chaos Theory, but you can see the figure here within the box looks absolutely excellent. And then if you turn the back of the box around, you take a look at it here, you can see kind of like some images there, basically showing a sneak peek of the action features and stuff. And then down here we have the Bahatosaurus and Maposaurus, which we have already reviewed. Those are the gigantic tracker figures. So let's pop this box open and check it out. So here is our Becklespinax, and just as I said, man, this thing is gorgeous. Mattel really outdid themselves, I think, with this one. First of all, it looks, in my opinion, about as screen accurate as it gets when it comes to the way it appeared on the show. I think they did a very good job of sculpting this out to look pretty much exactly as it did on the show. And there's also some really nice paint work on this one. Again, it's not the greatest paint job ever. It's not even Mattel's best paint job, but when it comes to a mainline figure, it does sport some decent paint apps overall. So without further ado, let's jump to a closer look and check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Becklespinax, look at how beautiful that is. That is absolutely awesome. The sculpt in fine detail is extraordinarily crisp on the face as well. You can see all sorts of variation to the different types of scale detail. Like you've got really bumpy scales up here, bit finer scaling down here, larger bumpier scaling right there. There's definitely a lot going on when it comes to the fine detail here in the face of this figure. You can see the nostrils sculpted out. You can also see almost like an armored sort of a look up here to the top of the head. You have all kinds of really large osteoderm-like scales, as well as these very cool kind of ridge-like scoots that move up and over the top of the eye area and up through the center of the head. It all looks extremely cool. You've also got this very interesting, almost like a purplish brown coloration that they have for the face, but then you have like this alternate, almost bordering on kind of like a reddish brown, but not so much, that kind of splotches through the face and runs back here and also leaks back into the green a little bit. And I think it all looks really well done. The eye is also painted with a yellow. We have a small slit-like black pupil, which looks really good as well, perfectly placed. We've got this light tone here for the lower jaw, which looks really good as well. And you can see the teeth look very nice on this. We again have those softer teeth that are like a really soft material, so they're flexible. That means they're not going to hurt anybody, but they have a genuine sharp look to them, which again, these newer teeth Mattel have been using are such a massive improvement over anything that Mattel used to use. There's a really nice pinkish tone, a very light pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth, and I love the detail up here on the top. Like, it just seems a little more rippled, a little more realistic than what we usually see from Mattel, which is nice. You can see the tongue is also very nicely textured. There's a gorgeous gloss coat inside. The teeth, again, like I said, are all sculpted very nicely, and you can see they're painted with kind of like an off-white or like a light yellowish tone. So the entire inside of the mouth looks really good. As you move up here into the top of the head, you see these very cool ridges pick up, and they get very tall sort of spikes up here on the top of the neck, and it looks extremely cool. Again, a very cool design here on the top of the dinosaur, but I love the scale detail. As you move down through the course of the neck, you can see the scale detail is very reptilian, and I always enjoy when Mattel creates figures with this specific texturing. I think it always just looks really good. Same case here. You see more of that kind of like purplish sort of brown tone lead down along the neck here, leading down toward the arm. You can also see that light tone leads into the throat but disappears as you lead closer to the chest. You can see some really nice skin wrinkles and folds and stuff down here in the neck. Again, that same style of very reptilian scale detail down there. As you move back up here into the body, the coloration actually gets a little bit darker. So you have kind of like a light green here in the neck, and you can see it transition away to a darker green as you move down into the body. Again, as I said earlier, Mattel really did put a lot of paintwork into this figure, way more than I'm used to from them, which was definitely a very nice choice and is honestly a bit of a breath of fresh air for the figure. As you move down into the body, unfortunately, you do see one of these very obnoxious buttons right here that is just so obvious. And on top of that, there's a seam that kind of follows along the sail area of this dinosaur up on the back, which is also very obvious. So a little bit disheartening, a little bit ugly as far as that goes, but I guess it could be worse. But the skin detail looks really, really cool as you move through the course of the body. You have all sorts of very large, bumpy osteoderms showing up here and there. As you move down into the arm, you can see the arm also sports some very nice muscle definition. You've got the elbow back there, nice scoots moving down the fingers. The nails are unpainted, unfortunately, but the arm is that darker tone, so it doesn't look too bad because the arm is the darker tone. The nails at the feet are painted, and they're a dark, very dark gray, so it doesn't look too out of place, but it would have been nicer just to see some paintwork there. But you can see more of that coloration, that darker tone, run here through the course of the stomach back toward the leg, but you can see it does disappear as you lead back. You've also got, again, some more skin wrinkles and folds and stuff, even as you move down here into the underside of the dinosaur. As you move up here again, as I stated, we do have a bit of like a sail-like area for our Becklespinax, and you can see it's that same tone of color we see in the arm and up in the face, and you can see we also have a lighter tone in between the spines sticking up here on the back of the dinosaur that shows up just to add yet again a little more variation of color to the figure. And you can see yet again the skin texture and everything looks really nice in that area. As you move down into the leg, again, the muscle definition is very nicely sculpted. You've got the knee, you've got the calf muscle here bulging, everything pretty much shown off the way you would want it to, and the detail is super crisp. It looks absolutely excellent yet again. And then you move down into the foot, you've got some scoots running down the toes. You've got, again, as I mentioned, the nail paint there with a nice gloss coat added to the nails as well. Yes, we do have a dew claw, but again, no paintwork for it, of course. But as you lead up, you see the coloration here disappear off of that little sail-like area, but it does pick back up again, actually, as you lead out into the tail, as we have these, like, small ridges here that stick up on the tail, and maybe that's going to be part of an action feature? I'm not really sure. They kind of feel like you can see they flex. I'm really unfamiliar with a lot of what this figure's got going on, so I don't really know, but again, it is nice to see color from head to tail, you know, as you move through the figure. Even though it's not a super obvious amount of color, there is still color leading out onto the tail. And the detailing, again, of the tail looks really good. The skin texture looks awesome, super nice looking, kind of, again, very reptilian, like snake-like almost scale detail as you move out. A little bit finer here on the underside of the tail as well. As you lead out there toward the tip, you have a nice curve in the tail as you lead out. And again, really beautiful, honestly, from everywhere. I am such a massive fan of this figure. Of course, you're going to see the same thing on this side compared to what we just saw on the first side. No real differences or anything over here. I also love the fact that the wrists are not pronated. That is such a really nice touch as well. So massive props to Mattel for actually doing that correctly. But overall, this thing is absolutely awesome. I am such a huge fan of this figure, I honestly can't even begin to tell you. And as you can see, you lift that little area of the sail up to expose the Jurassic Facts app code. So there is the code if you would like to add this one to your collection. Also, as far as the articulation goes, we already saw that we have an articulated jaw. It's the lower jaw that articulates. The neck also moves up and down. Pretty sure that's going to have something to do with the action feature. We also have articulation in the arm, forward and back, also out away from the body, which is very nice. Moving back, we have leg articulation, forward and back. Very jerky, but it does work. Out away from the body as well. You've got swivel ankles. Then you have the tail, which can go left and right, not up and down. It doesn't swivel, just left and right. And then you've got one final area here with a swivel out there on the tail for the Becklespinax. As far as the action feature goes, we again have this button here where we can kind of move it forward and back. We'll also hear the sounds. So we've got very cool noises, and I like that when you pull this side back, the head goes up, and obviously if I go through with it, it's going to snap. See, it's a little jerky, very jerky, honestly. But then if you go forward, it goes down and snaps that way. So I just noticed something about this, and the little like ridges out here on the tail, they do actually extend up. So you're going to hear the noise again, but once you push this back and the dinosaur lifts its head up, you can see they do extend out of the tail. So I guess a little epic evolution sort of gimmick with this one. But I knocked it over. But as far as the size goes with our Becklespinax, for a length you are looking at about 17¼ inches, or right under 44 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point would actually be the sail area of the back, about 7½ inches, or around the 19 centimeter mark. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon in the Collect A human being next to our Mattel Becklespinax. And you can see the Becklespinax is quite large, honestly. Definitely a good bit larger than I was expecting it to be. You know, I thought kind of maybe a little bit bigger than like a Roarivore. I would say maybe closer to the size range of like a gigantic Trackers figure, but it is actually even larger than that, which again shows you that it's pretty impressive in the size department. Of course, to further show you that, we've got a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus next to our Becklespinax as well. And then here's a size comparison that I think will really put into perspective the size of the Becklespinax, as we've got a Roarivore version of a Concavenator here next to the Becklespinax, and clearly there's a pretty massive difference in size. And then we've got a gigantic Trackers figure with the Yanchuanosaurus. Now you can see, as far as like bulk and everything goes, they're pretty similar in size, but just the overall length and everything of the Becklespinax definitely puts it in a good bit larger of a size range than our Yanchuanosaurus. Not by a lot, you know, obviously. It's just that the Yanchuanosaurus and most of the gigantic Trackers kind of have shorter tails and stuff, which the Becklespinax doesn't really have that issue. And then one final size comparison, as we have a Mattel Extreme Damage T-Rex next to the Becklespinax, which you can see the Rex is obviously a little bit bigger, but that Becklespinax is still quite impressive in size, you know, definitely rivaling that T-Rex. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Chaos Theory Becklespinax is a very cool figure. Honestly, like I said earlier, it's absolutely one of my favorite Mattel Jurassic World figures ever. If I were to make a list, which I may at some point, but if I were to make a list of my top 10 favorites, this would, no questions asked, be in that list. Maybe even in my top 5. I'm not really sure if it would make it. I'd have to really go ahead and, you know, view them all over again, but there's a very good chance. I just love everything about this figure. The sculpt is absolutely gorgeous. It's extremely highly detailed and sports some very cool skin texture, very reptilian skin texture through the course of the body, which I'm also a big fan of. It also has a super cool kind of like stylized appearance to it. And of course, it's the same way it appears in Chaos Theory, which of course you want to capitalize on Chaos Theory and create it to look the same. And they did a very good job, I think, as far as the screen accuracy goes of this one. It looks pretty much just as I recall it on Chaos Theory. So huge plus on the part of Mattel as far as that goes. We have the very cool newer teeth on this one, which also helps to make this one look a lot nicer than your average Mattel, or at least your previously average Mattel Jurassic World figure would. The paint apps on this one are also really nicely done. And even though it's not super colorful or anything like that, I think they did a very good job with the coloration on this one. There's a lot of variation of color to it, a lot more than we normally get for Mattel figures. And we do even have some painted nails on the toenails. Unfortunately, not on the hands or the Dewclaw, but some painted nails are better than none. And on top of that, you've got a pretty fun action feature. Nothing amazing, but it is pretty fun to have that action feature because you can kind of like, you know, put it in certain positions to have it stuck in that sort of display. It definitely helps when it comes to the overall display. and it's got some pretty fun noises on top of everything. So if you are interested in grabbing this one and adding it to your collection, head to your local Target, because that seems to be the place where it is currently showing up, and you, if not now, will hopefully be able to get a hold of it very soon. So make sure you do that, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.